Have you ever had that sinking feeling after a customer has asked you for a product before you've even checked? You haven't seen it in months. That foundation shade they need, it's been gone. You check the system for their size and those jeans. Nada. The fragrance everyone has been asking for, you had received maybe 5 pieces and it's already sold out. Yet it is still fully available online. It's not that customers are asking too much. Stock has always been an underlying issue in retail because stock is the bread and butter of your paycheck. It's the entire reason stores exist. Beyond customer service, connection, and the experience, of course. But no stock, no sale, no commission. And yet, expectations, they keep getting bigger. Oh, by the way, you're receiving less inventory this year? Did my goals change? No, they're gonna go up, unfortunately, by like 20%. What kind of math is this? Welcome to Sorry It's Discontinued, where we talk about the reality of retail. I'm Hilary, a former luxury beauty manager, highlighting the people behind the counter, the untold truths of retail life, and the history of the brands and department stores we grew up with. Today, we're talking about stock. The word alone makes retail people stress out because more often than not, we're dealing with the lack of it. And when you ask why, you're met with the same tired answer. Just sell what you have. Sorry. It's discontinued. There was a time when stock actually supported the sale. Stores almost felt like they had too much stock. I remember those days. And looking back, honestly, it was quite beautiful. I miss it. Backstock existed, shelves were actually full, drawers were stocked, numerous colors and options. If something sold well, you could replenish it quickly. Buyers were responsive and the system moved. And associates were true problem solvers. Business managers had more control and department managers could actually support them in pushing for the inventory that they needed. You could shade match, size up, reorder, build baskets. You remember those days? They do still exist in some stores. And you could create sets. You had enough merchandise and actually close the sale and really impress your clients. But slowly that has changed. Certain lines or brands, especially the ones that weren't considered hot, popular, they've begun to fade. They began to fade into what feels like times a retail dystopia. There were times when launches arrived in overwhelming quantities, and now launches, it can seem more tightly controlled, limited, often feel inaccessible, depending on where it is launched and at what store. But decisions have moved further and further away from the sales floor, in my opinion. Associates, we are handed with the familiar retail line, sell what you have. When they are struggling to sell the line that they were actually hired to support and build the business, one customer at a time. Less inventory, less flexibility, but the expectations, have those changed? I don't think so. Those have actually stayed the same or gotten bigger. And the disillusion has only grown. Some larger brands are clearly inundated with product, while smaller ones receive little to nothing. And associates can be left in the dark trying to explain shortages that they don't understand themselves. Why isn't it more black and white, y'all? Why does it feel like there are things no one is allowed to talk about? Like daddy has a big secret. Why does stock feel like a secret that companies don't want you to know about? Do they know the truth will set you free? Do they know that? Stock shortages aren't just an inventory issue. They're actually a people issue too. And the people who carry the weight of it are the ones behind the counter. Right now, many stores are operating with shallow assortments. They have 1 or 2 units per shade for some of the most popular items that they have, like their most popular lipstick. Limited sizes for the hottest styles of the season, incomplete collections that you hear about or you see in the catalogs. Replenishment is inconsistent and shipments can arrive late, or maybe they don't even arrive at all and everything is online, has to be ordered. And associates are still expected to hit the daily goals, maintain their conversion rates, deliver luxury level service. But you can't build trust when you can't deliver product. You can't sell what you don't have. And yet the pressure never seems to ease as stores are held to the same goals under a system that no longer seems to really support them. What do you think? Let's talk about buyers. We talk a lot about buyers in stores. I know I spoke a lot about buyers when I was a manager or with my managers because buyers are a huge part of this story. And they're not just sitting around thinking, let's starve the sales floor today. Let's pretend we give them what they need, but really not. Let's see. Most are actually trained professionals who want to support the stores. When I worked as a business manager a few years ago, I worked with the buyers for our company that supported my brand. And truthfully, they were amazing. They listened and just told me straight up through emails why they could or couldn't send me what I needed. And we had a pretty good system going. It was slowly built over time and communication. And they responded, which can honestly be a rarity in retail to have that kind of direct communication with your buyers. But the truth is that many buyers today, they can't actually do the job they were hired to do, in my opinion. They're working under strict limitations and budgets are a lot tighter than they used to be. Decisions have to pass through multiple levels before anything gets approved, shaped by finance, leadership, and constant cash flow pressure. So even when a buyer sees that something is selling, even when they know stores need more, these teams need more of this or that item, they may not be allowed to act. And from the outside, that can seem so absurd, ridiculous. It can almost feel like there's someone sitting in a dark office somewhere, an old grumpy guy with like a red stamp going, "No stock for you. They don't need any stock. Okay, maybe 2 pieces for this team." But meanwhile, the sales floor, it's begging for product. The sad reality is it's not usually one person, it's the system. And sometimes it feels like these decisions are less about supporting the sales floor and more about moving numbers around. That's what's so hard to reconcile. There always seems to be money for the wrong things, but never enough for the one thing stores actually need: merchandise. Once again, the people absorbing the impact aren't the ones making the final call. It's the people behind the counter, all the teams having to explain to a customer that their favorite shade won't be available for their big day, or they don't know when it's actually going to even come back. So the sale is lost, the customer looks elsewhere, and loyalty shifts. And none of that is the associate's fault. Yet they're the ones who feel it through missed goals, lost commission, and being quietly blamed for circumstances that are completely out of their control. When you step back, I often think, how are these decisions even being made? Who's making these final calls? They want to build the business, build the loyalty. Sending a billion emails, that's not the way to do it. So right now, there are major retail groups that simply aren't ordering the way that they used to. And with replenishment, it can be inconsistent. It seems that way. And there seems to be small brands that are quietly struggling, not because customers don't want their product, but because cash flow matters in a very real way. In some cases, there are rumors that these vendors are still waiting to be paid for merchandise that was already ordered, already sold. The product moved, the customer bought it, but the payment never came back to the brand. And I think when large retail groups make poor financial decisions, the fallout, it doesn't just stop with the numbers. It travels downstream to vendors who already covered production costs. They paid for labor, packaging, and shipping. And for small brands, that missing payment, it could be a make it or break it moment for them. People can lose jobs, teams get cut, production stops, or it could mean closing down entirely. I think these aren't just faceless companies either that don't matter. They're small teams, people who had a dream that they built that supported workers, associates, account executives. And the devastation, it could show up in many ways. But too often, small brands are forced to place their trust in much larger companies for growth. And when that trust breaks, that cost, it can be devastating. So while all this is happening behind the scenes with stock, guess who is left explaining it on the sales floor? It's the associates, apologizing for delays, losing commission on sales that could have been easy. Customers don't see the corporate restructuring. They don't see unpaid vendors. They don't see broken systems. They're looking at the person in front of them who is absorbing the frustration, disappointment, and pressure, but still being asked to protect the brand's image. And that's why moments that seem so small to a customer can often feel really heavy to the people holding it together, showing up day after day behind the counter. So next time you hear, "I'm so sorry, we don't have that right now," you have to understand that it's not indifference. It's the result of decisions made far above the sales floor. So that's why it's still more important than ever to support the associates in these stores who are still showing up, supporting these small brands that are struggling to stay alive with all this retail change going on. And remember that kindness in these stores, when you're dealing with these disappointments, it really matters more than ever, because empty shelves, they don't tell the whole story. There is a lot going on in retail right now. So when you're shopping today, this next week, and next year, continue to look at the people who are helping and make a connection. And maybe even if something isn't there, you might find something you like better. I know this episode is kind of short. Stock is a little touchy, but I really wanted to talk about it, obviously, and how much is shifted in the last few years, unfortunately. But I really appreciate you sitting with me today on Sorry, It's Discontinued. And if you have anything you'd like to add or you want me to talk about dealing with this topic, you can send me a message at sorryitsdiscontinued.com. Now, don't forget to support and shop in your local stores. Support those people behind the counter. We can't lose these stores, y'all, because then we won't have as many excuses to get out of the house. We can't lose our retail therapy. I'll see you next time, and I appreciate you so much. I'm sending you lots of love. Bye. Thanks for listening to Sorry, It's Discontinued, where we honor the voices, stories of those who've lived life behind the counter in retail. If you've loved this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, or share it with a fellow retail warrior. You can support the show at buymeacoffee.com/sorrypodcast, or you can leave me a message. It's sorryitsdiscontinued.com if there's anything you want me to talk about, or even be a guest on the show. Now, the views, opinions, and personal experiences shared on this podcast are my own and those of my guests. They do not reflect the views of any current or former employers, brands, or companies that may be mentioned. All stories are shared with care, honesty, and respect. Names, titles, or identifying details may be changed to protect privacy. Now, thank you for sitting with me today. I'm sending you lots of love, retail crew. Kindness is contagious. So spread your beautiful smiles, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Sorry. It's discontinued.